Okay, so good evening. Unfortunately, when I recorded or actually when we had the live meeting earlier today, I did not push record. So I am redoing the lecture this evening so that you guys would know what it is that I talked about. And for those of you guys who were in the class um, and online for the live viewing, you'll have it for playback. So I'm gonna um, just discuss what I talked about in class. Kept it pretty short today, as today we're talking about layers, and pretty much it's going to be an introduction, some basic information into layers, the things that you're going to work on. Um, the first part of this week, especially, will be layers, and moving forward, you're always going to have layers in your project. So. Um, I talked a little bit about different types of layers that we have, and what you can do with the different layers. And I'm going to show a little bit of those things this evening. But one of the main things that you guys are going to do is work through the information that is on D2L, and that's going to help you to kind of get familiar with working with the layers and what the different layers can do. Um, but I talked about how we have text layers, shape layers, fill color layers, adjustment layers, um, smart object um, layers. You can move layers around. You can relayer layers. Um, you can blend them, blend the images, the pixels that are on one layer with another layer. You can clip one layer to another where um, that layer that is clipped to the other layer is only going to affect the layer that is clipped to. You can link and group layers. You can add layer masks. There are many different things that you can do with layers. You can add filters on them and things like that. So we're going to touch on a few things with layers, and I'm going to show you guys how to do some of those things. Um, First thing I want to show you guys that I have my image open here on the desktop is and I'm sure you guys have noticed too, whenever you open up a new document, the very first thing you're going to see is the background layer. Okay. When you see this background layer, it's going to come locked. Some of you guys might have where your background text information will show italicized. Um, Mine isn't. I did not do an update on there. I have the updates on my deal turned off. But even on some of the older versions, it just may be the platform that you're using. I'm not sure, but I have seen where this is italicized on here. So if you're wondering why yours may not be italicized, don't worry or anything like that. I still cannot do anything with this layer because it is locked. This little lock box right here is telling me that it is locked. So if I take my move tool and click, I can't move it until I convert it into a normal layer. Okay, and if I do that, then it will allow me to move it. Okay, that's just me clicking and moving it around, and I'm going to put it back there. All right, one thing I want you guys to know that's very important, and something that I'm going to be looking for in everything that you submit to me when I'm looking at your layers is to make sure that you are naming your layers. Okay? It's important to name your layers. It helps with organization. And when you're finding things, and also it helps me to see, um, to find certain things. Sometimes um, you guys will create something and it might be extremely tiny in the midst of a bunch of things going on your image, and I may not see exactly where, if I look here, I may not see exactly where your image is on the canvas. I could turn it off and on, that might help you find it. Um, but if I see here you have your layer and you name it small black dot bottom corner, that's going to draw my attention. Oh, okay. There's your other image. All right. Let me go ahead and delete that. So that's I want you guys to make sure that you are um, naming your layers. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to bring some different things in. I'm going to do some different things and show you guys the different layers and the things that you can do with some of the layers. Okay. One of our layers that we can make is type. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select my type tool in my toolbar, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to type in uh-huh, Go Saints. All right. I'm going to change that font just because I don't like it. And I want to make it, I want to make it big. Okay. Now I have my text layer. If you notice that this little bracket here, the around the corner lines around the T lets me know that this is my text layer, and whatever it is that I type is going to show here. If I have a really, really long sentence, and I don't want that really long sentence to be here, and I might have some other text here. Let's just say if I add another text layer um, as a subtitle, smaller, I might go ahead and name this as my title text and subtitle text. That's some misspelling in there. Um, that way, I may be able to find it a lot easier if I have quite a few things going on. It's like, oh goodness, where's, you know, okay, there's my title, there's my subtitle. You guys will be able to understand what it is that I'm saying about that much better as you begin to build your projects and things like that. As you begin to add more and more layers, you will see that naming them is going to be very helpful when you're looking for something, especially if you have quite a bit going on your in your image, and you may not know exactly where it is to click or where you may have positioned it. And instead of removing something or moving something out of the way, you can just come here into your layers panel and find it there. All right. Now, one thing I want you guys to notice that when I click for a new text layer, it brought my new layer right at the top of the title layer. Okay. Anytime that I add a new layer, it's going to bring that layer right above the layer that I have selected. The title text selected. So when I added the new text layer, it created that text layer right above the layer that I had selected. Okay. It's not automatically going to put it to the very top. Okay. Just because you may be placing it what seems like on top of your image is only going to place it on top of the layer that you have selected. Okay. So keep that in mind because sometimes what happens is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you guys real quick. Let me undo this. All right, so that's deleted. Okay, I'm going to select this subtitle and I'm going to come and add a shape. Okay, I'm going to, I have the rectangle tool selected, and I have a fill color of black. The stroke, it doesn't matter, so I'm just going to go ahead and put 0, right? And I'm just gonna make a black text box, a black rectangle right there. Okay. Now I have this here. I want you to notice it brought my layer and it named it rectangle layer because rectangle one because this is the first rectangle that I made on this canvas, and it is a rectangle. It's letting me know that that's the tool that I selected. This is what I created. This little symbol right here lets me know that I created a shape tool, or rather a path tool or vector. These little dots right here, and the lines are paths. And these little deals are dots here are anchor points. Okay, so pretty much just letting me know that this is something that I can alter and change. And when we get to using more of the pen tool and things like that later on in the semester, you'll understand this part a little bit better and changing the shapes of those things, okay? Um, but I want to show you why it's important to not just automatically think that your layer is going to go automatically to the top, unless I have the very top layer selected. That is the only way that that layer is going to go on the top. So let's just say I've been working on and um, I move my subtitle um, text, around. I did some edits with it, so it is selected. Okay. And I was like, you know what? I want to add more text. So I'm going to go to, and I want to put some text here on my black box. So I'm going to come to my text layer and I was like, oh, you know what? It's a black background, so let's make it a contrasting color. All right, let's bring this back over here. We hit that it's a white, so it can stand out so that we'll see it. Make it yellow. Oh, did I not? See, I did that wrong. My text layer, sorry you guys. My subtitle text layer is still selected. I did go and hit my text key, but I forgot to click and create the place where I wanted to put my text. So I'm going to click here to put my text there. Now I'm going to change my color. Okay, so I'm going to come up here in my options bar. I'm fine with with all of this here being what it is. I just want to change the color. I change it to this yellow, something bright, and I'm going to type hidden. And I'm going to hit check right here, and I don't see it. And that is because it did not bring my layer automatically to the top. It brought my layer right above the layer that I was currently on, which is my subtitle layer. It brought it right above that layer, which is below the black box. Now, the other thing that I can do, like I said before, with layers is move my layers. So what I want to do is I want to bring my hidden text layer, my text layer with the word hidden above my rectangle. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it. And you see that little blue line? That blue line is letting me know where it is that I'm getting ready to place uh, my layer. So I'm going to bring it down here. You see that line just kind of lighting up, and there's my text. All right. Just select my move tool and place it in here wherever I want. Make sense? All right. So there's my text layer. There is me moving my text. Um, there's a shape layer. Um, my text layer, like I said, my text layer, my shape layer, moving. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys. Let's see, what do I have on here? Let's show you guys image bring in an image, right? An image layer, so you see what that looks like. So, there we go. Mhm. Now, you guys are probably gonna like this. Naruto. I think I know something about him. I don't. I don't know anything about him. I just know that somebody in the class earlier picked him out, so I went with him. So here is Naruto. All right, we have him in here, and I'm going to show you guys some pretty cool things with him. All right, I'm going to bring in another image, but I want you to notice real quick too that when I brought in this image here, notice he doesn't have a background on him, but everywhere where I place him, you'll see him move right up in this little window right here as well, right up in this thumbnail. But all around him, you'll see the transparency. That lets me know that this is transparent. There are no pixels there, um, and and pretty much where he is, on that image. All right. The other thing is I'm going to show you guys on this. This is an image layer, but I can also convert this image into a smart object. All right, we're going to get into smart objects a little bit later on. But if I right click on this layer, oops, on the layer, if what I did was I right clicked on the thumbnail. That's not what I want. I want to right click on the layer. All right, I can convert it to a smart object, and it's going to have this little emblem on there. Now, for right now, until I teach you guys and we talk about converting the images into smart objects, if you bring in your image to your computer and it has this little icon right here, then it automatically converted your image into a smart object. Okay, which is not necessarily a bad thing. However, there might be some things that you may not be able to do in this lesson for this week, um, that the instructions are telling you to do. If it is a smart object, you would have to convert it to a raster image, but also you want to make sure that when you're opening your images, that it doesn't tell you or ask you that it wants to convert it to a smart object. Also, when you go to open your images, you do not want to select open as smart object on this week's assignment. Okay. Now, later on, if you know that you're going to want it in a smart object, once we get to the smart objects part, by all means, go ahead and do that. Which this is new to Photoshop from the update from last year. Um, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and convert that back to a raster layer. All right, you're going to put Naruto aside, and we're going to add another um, image in here. Okay, my saints. Yes, but I don't want to talk about it for those of you guys who are football fans. All right, and so you can see everything. Just kind of bring that in just a little bit. You can see the whole deal. All right. Now I am going to do. I'm going to show you guys something else. I'm going to show you guys clipping. Okay. I am going to first hide. What's that I can do with my layer? Hide layers. Hide the layers that I don't want seen right now. I may want to keep them as as they are later, um, or I can delete it if I no longer want it. But for right now, I'm just gonna hide it. I want to actually I'm gonna go ahead and leave this, and I'm just gonna change the way it looks. So I'm gonna move this one right on top so that I can see it better, and I'm gonna just kind of do that. There we go. So I'm gonna double click it to approve that that's how I want it to look. And oh, now I have this. That's the other thing. I told you guys before, well, in the class earlier, this auto select right here. I want you to notice show transform controls. It shows these little boxes around. This was in another lesson. Okay. Um, it shows the boxes around the little handles that you can, um, do your free transform with. Okay. Um, but if you have this unchecked, you won't see that. Then you'll have to go to the edit, show transform, things like that. I like leaving it selected because it just takes some extra work out for me. Um, but what could be a bit of a nuisance at times is with the auto select. Um, Preferably, I prefer to have the auto select on. And this is what auto select does. Instead of me having to go to click each one of the layers that I want to select it, I can just click on the ones that I want selected. Now, sometimes depending on what it is, on how much I have um, on my image, or even um, the size of the pixels in the area that I'm trying to select can be a bit of a problem when I'm trying to work with one area, or, I'm trying to move and select or what have you, things like that. Sometimes I can start selecting something that I don't want. So what I will do is I will remove the auto select option, and it won't let me click on anything else. Like it will only let me work with the layer that I'm selected on. So if I want to work with another layer, then I can move this around. Even if I click on, something else, it'll only affect the layer, even if I'm not necessarily clicking directly on him. It'll only affect what it is that I'm trying to move on that layer. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. All right. Um, I'm going to come back to this part here when it comes to this option right here. So let's go ahead and put this back here. I'm going to hit my auto select because I'm fine with that for what I'm doing right now. Earlier today, I had a little issue, but I blame it on the PC. Anywho, what I want to do is I want to display this um, Saints logo within this little black shape here. But what I wanted to do is I don't want the pieces that are outside of the shape to be seen. I want it to be clipped on and almost to look like it is a part of this shape back here. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of resize it a little bit for the parts that I want to see because I wanted to make sure that you can tell that it is the Saints logo, but just not seeing all of it. Okay, so that'll do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you clipping. Make sure I commit to that. Clipping another layer to clipping one layer to another layer. So I'm going to have the layer that I want to be seen, the main image that I want to be seen, to be on top of the shape or whatever it is that I'm wanting it to be clipped to. Okay. So I'm going to bring my cursor in between the two layers, and I'm going to hold down the Alt or the Option button on my keyboard. And if you notice, it's going to turn into a little white box with an arrow right um, right on the side of it to show that I'm getting ready to clip this layer directly on top of the other. And when you see over to your left, it is taking the shape. Um, it is pretty much it's like it's masked out. These pixels are not deleted, okay, but it's kind of masked out the other parts of it, as though it was like a sticker that I just peeled off with only that on there. Okay, I can move it around and adjust it. I can make it a little bit bigger. However it is that I want to position it. It's totally um, up to you as a designer when you're doing something like this. Okay, so I have it how I want it. I think that's pretty cool, and I now I'm done with this piece. I don't want to edit it anymore, but I might want to reposition it, But when I reposition it, I don't want to reposition the logo within the shape. I want to position it as one piece. Even if I want to resize it, I want to resize it as one piece. So the other thing that I can do with layers is I can link multiple layers together. Okay. I can also group multiple images together. And let me show you where you might find where one is better than the other. Okay, where linking will do pretty much a similar thing that grouping will do, but where one might be better than the other. In a sense is, let's just say I have this piece right here where I want it, I mean how I want it, and I know that I want Naruto just like this, but if I move them like they're all going together. I want to make sure that if I reposition that Naruto and this logo are going to stay together and move in that same spacing the way that I have them and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this layer. I'm going to hold down my since all of these layers um, are touching, I am going to hold down my shift key and hit the bottom layer, and that will select all of these layers. My other option is I can select the one layer, hold down my command or um, control key for you PC users, and click each layer. Okay, so that way when I move it, oh well, let me link it first. This little button down here links it. It puts a little chain link letting them know that all of these are linked together. Even if I decide to put something in between here, it doesn't change the fact that these are linked together. So when I move them, see how Win is in between them? It's behind the logo, but in front of Naruto. And this is how, but I don't want Win linked with it because I might want to change how how it is. So that's where linking might be better than what I'm getting ready to show you, which is grouping. All right. I don't want all of these linked anymore. So I'm going to highlight them, hit linking, hit the link icon, and that unlinks them. Okay. But what I do want to do is, what I do want to do is link, I would keep these two together, but I don't want to link them. So I'm going to select them both. All right. And I'm going to click on this little icon, which is a little folder icon right here, and that is to create a new group. I'm going to click that, and it puts both of those layers that I had within that group. All right, I'm going to name that group. I'm going to call it icon, and now I am able to move it around together. All right, now this is where um, this is going to come back into play. So the reason why these two are moving around together as grouped is because I have group selected right here. Now, if I selected just layer and I go to click and move something around, they're still grouped together. However, what this is telling me is when I select, I'm selecting the layer. I'm not selecting the group. So they're operating as individual, even though they're grouped together. All right. But that's not what I want. When I group them together, I want to keep them as such. All right. Now, if it comes to the point where I want to, be able to make some more edits within that group, then simply just come here, switch it to layer. You can move this group, hit back, click group back again, and now they're all together. So if I want to move it, even if I want to make it bigger, there it is. All right. So that was linking um, layers, grouping layers, naming layers, clipping layers, shape layers, text layers, image layers. I showed you the um, I changed it to smart object layer. Goodness. The other thing that I'm going to show you is adding an adjustment layer. All right. Let's see. So I'm going to come here to adjustment. All right. Now, what I want you to know is when I create an adjustment layer, and I'm going to come to hue and saturation. It put it at the top because that's the layer that I had selected. All right, you see how it shows up is letting me know which adjustment I selected, which is my hue and saturation. This here is a mask, okay? And next week we're going to learn about masks. And this is letting me know that this link right here, this chain, is linked to this hue and saturation edits that I'm going to be changing in this properties panel right here. And then of course it's also named the hue and saturation. Now, if I'm changing the hue and saturation, I want to alter the look of everything that is underneath it. Then I'm going to leave it as such. I'm going to make my adjustments, but know that if I'm only wanting to make the changes of the hue and saturation on one particular thing, let's just say Naruto or what have you, I need to make sure that this hue and saturation layer is going to be positioned in a place that is not going to change anything else. All right. So what I want to do first is because I want to show you guys the really big difference in this. So I'm going to first change my title text color. I'm clicking on my title. I'm going to come to the color and let's change it to this lime green. All right, something extremely different. Okay, now I have to reposition my hue and saturation um, layer. Okay, if I leave it on top, it changes everything. But I only want to change Naruto. All right, so I'm going to put it on top of Naruto. All right, so I have it on top of Naruto. However, it's also changing the my title layer, but I don't want to do that. But what I can do is I can make it so that this layer only affects the layer that it is on top of, okay? And by doing so, when I click this layer here, have Naruto selected, make sure he is positioned where I want it. Have my Saint, oops, oh, I'm sorry guys, I got some things popping up. Yeah, no, hold tight. It's late. Okay. So I have Naruto there. Here is my hue and saturation layer. All right. Now, one thing I want you guys to make sure, and I made this mistake earlier in class today, and I want to make sure that I highlight this again as well. I was having issues with clipping my layer right on top of Naruto earlier. And the reason is because, well, I'm just going to bring this one right here. This is the group layer right here. The reason is because when I had my hue and saturation layer um, at the top and I brought it down, I had my group layers opened. Okay. And I want you to notice that whenever you have layers that are in a group, there is an indentation right here on this side with your your thumbnails that are beginning with that bit of indentation. Whereas if they're not grouped, it flushes to the left. All right. So what I did was when I brought this down, I didn't pay very much attention or what have you, and I brought it and it went right into the group. So I kept trying to hit my Alt key, my Alt Option key to clip it, and I was having that issue, and I was like, "What in the world? What did I do wrong?" And that's when I noticed that it was indented, and I had it in there, and that's because I placed it in there. So I'm going to move this back up here, and I'm going to show you guys um, how to avoid that happening. All right. When it's open like that, it's a little bit harder to tell. So if I know that I have a group and I'm having an issue, I'm going to close that group and I'm going to then start to drag. And I want you to notice that when I came over that group, it highlighted the whole layer group. all around. The blue box is all the way around. That lets me know that if I release my mouse right now, it's going to go directly um, into that box, into that group, and I don't want to do that. However, if I come down just a little bit further and it brings a line underneath it, that lets me know that I'm putting it underneath the group. So then I can release my mouse click. Then I can hold down the Alt key or Option key, and I can click to affect only the only Naruto. See, if not, if you notice the Saint's color deal changes as well. But if I select Naruto, select to clip it right over Naruto, it only changes Naruto. Okay? Pretty cool, huh? So let me make sure that that's all that I wanted to demonstrate to you guys. I showed you guys adjustment layer. Now, this is the first step into making your images and your creations non-destructive. What we've been doing so far, we were pretty much destroying the images by using just the one layer, okay? But now that we're going to be using multiple layers, we're making the image less destructive. All right. There's still going to be some deleting of pixels or what have you and getting rid of some pixels in this week's exercises. However, as we move further along, especially into next week when we start learning about layer mask, we're going to go even another step further in making the images non-destructive. Okay. But this is just one step here so far in helping to make that your images non-destructive and preserving some things to be able to go back and edit some things in the future if you so choose to. Okay. Let's see. What else I want to tell you? Um, that might be it for this evening. Yep. So there will be another lecture on Wednesday on a different lesson. Okay. This week, two lessons, 1 week, two quizzes, 1 week, all due on Sunday. And um, so make sure that you are paying attention to those due dates and end dates. Okay. Why two lessons this week? Well, both of those lessons are really short and really quick lessons. Okay. The other thing is, I'm trying to prepare you guys to be able to give you guys more time on your final. The more time you have, the better work that you're able to produce. Okay. Around finals time, you're also gonna have exams that you have to study for, and other work that you're gonna have to produce as well. So I really don't want you guys just rushing through anything, but actually um, being able to um, produce something good. So when we have small lessons versus not having anything to do for that week, I'm going to combine. And this is one of those weeks. So this lesson, again, some basic information on learning and understanding layers. And we're going to build upon that. So make sure that you do pay attention, that you do follow these steps and things like that. You do go through the lessons and um, another tip that I have for you guys is when you are doing your CIB um, information, your CIB instructions, and reading that book, that part of the instructions, read everything. Remember, that's where your quizzes come from. I strongly recommend that if you're going to do your CIB work on Monday, take your quiz on Monday. Don't wait the whole week or what have you and try to take your quiz at the end because now you either have to go back and read that information or you're taking more time to search, for that information. Either one, you have 30 minutes to take your exams. I'm not sure what happened when I converted my class over um this term, but it changed the time on my quizzes, and I saw that on some of it had an hour. I don't have the quizzes set for an hour. They will be set for 30 minutes. Okay, they're The all the answers are literally in CIB. Okay? If you read that information, you'll be totally fine with 30 minutes to take the test, take the quiz. Okay? But that's what I strongly recommend. Don't wait after you finish it. But the key thing is going to be in reading it. You must read the information. It's going to be a whole lot easier when you take the quiz. So, for those of you guys who are able online to join in on Wednesday, it'll be Wednesday at 1:45 is when I would get started. Pretty much promptly. Now, I won't have it open around 1:30, 1:35. So if you're able to log in and just wait until I get roll and things like that going, um, great. That way I can just start flowing right at 1:45. Okay. Um, that's it. So you guys have a good night.